Let's talk about Donald Trump, as overnight the former president gave a blockbuster speech at his party's national convention. I'll just show you something, right, which caught my eye this morning. Because as soon as I got up this morning, I thought, I've got to hear what he said, because he's just come back from an assassination attempt. And the first thing I see is this image here of him. He walks out, this is right at the start, in front of his own name in lights. And when I saw this, I thought, I know what this reminds me of. Here we are. Do you remember this? Well, you might not have been around for this, but 1968. This is the first concert in 8 years for Elvis Presley, known as the 68 Comeback Special, televised live. 42% of all TVs in America tuned to it. Massive iconography around this, and it was all about the comeback, the star with the lights. And actually, fun enough, we don't need an excuse here to play Elvis Presley singing If I Can Dream, so let's go for it.
Got to be birds flying higher in a sky more blue. If I can dream of a better land where all my brothers walk hand in hand, tell me why, oh why can't my dream come true?
So he's singing live with the lights behind him, and then mixed through, and this was last night. You can see what he's doing, or his people are doing, can't you? Because that was the 68 comeback tour for Elvis, the comeback special. And in a sense, Lynn, this is the comeback special for Trump, isn't it? Because he nearly died.
Yeah, and I think, you know, the imagery was iconic, wasn't it? The way how he managed to almost phoenix from the ashes, fist in the air. And I think that's his whole portrayal, to show a level of strength, especially in the face of Russian, Chinese aggression. He's essentially now, it's aided him, hasn't it? Because he's essentially said, when I was the leader, there was no wars. I will get people on the phone. I can stop wars with a phone call. And I think this just, it's very Trumpian, it's very American. His whole rhetoric is, I will allow people to experience the American dream.
He also had a series of people introducing him, one being the retired wrestler Hulk Hogan.
But what happened last week when they took a shot at my hero and they tried to kill the next president of the United States? Enough was enough, and I said, let Trumpomania run wild, brother. Let Trumpomania rule again. Let Trumpomania make America great again.
Are you enjoying the show at least, Bobby, or not?
You know what? I used to be a massive, I was till a moment ago, a fan of Hulk Hogan, Hulkamania, and now I might need to revoke my Hulkamania fan mate.
It's just because this was a bullet fired at his head with the intention of turning his head to mist in front of an audience of thousands or even millions. And people are reacting to that as much to Trump, you know. So what we were waiting for last night, obviously, was Trump to speak for the first time about the assassination attempt last week, and he did.
There was blood pouring everywhere, and yet, in a certain way, I felt very safe because I had God on my side. I felt that.
And he made, and this was actually very moving, whatever your politics, a moving tribute to the man who was a firefighter who was hit by the sniper during the shooting. And I did find that moving, actually. I mean, that guy he sheltered his wife and daughter. He was hit in the head by a sniper's bullet.
Yeah, and it was really sad to see some of the commentary. You know, I know many people initially thought this was a setup, it was fake, the blood was ketchup, so on and so forth. But
his name was Corey Comparatori, by the way. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's really sad. Of course, he did the heroic thing of sheltering, putting his family first, and sadly, he was caught and died because of it.
I just, if we look at the staging, I was surprised, but they really did. So you see the balloons and everything. at the end of the speech. I was a little bit surprised about the balloons because they all started popping, and I'm thinking at the moment we don't necessarily want a lot of popping around Trump. He has this signature ear bandage,
People
which
are
he
now
could
wearing
probably
it.
wear for the next year. His wife was there as well, Melania, and there's been commentary about where is she and so on, so she's there. We've got some stills, I think, of the actual speech, which we'll show you in the next part, because they put up the iconic photos of him pumping the air, being on the ground, etc. So we'll talk about this and whether post-assassination everything seems to have changed. There's talk, by the way, Biden might stand down this weekend. But are you thinking, no, it's time to give Trump another shot? Are you now thinking, yeah, I can back this guy for the White House? It's in New Mexico, and it's got only 6,000 people living there, but 6,000 is a fair old number. Hey, listen, I mentioned that the Trump staging at the convention, and just have a look at the pictures here. So this is this famous. So what they were doing was they were putting even this picture on the stage behind him. So you can see here. So there he is speaking. And they've put this is now an iconic image. In fact, young people are gathering with their friends and recreating this on social media. Can you believe that? And there's that as well. So even that, so there's Trump speaking, and these are massive screens. What is it showing? It's circled the bullet that missed him. Isn't that amazing? I suppose if you were being negative, you'd say they are milking the drama of it. But maybe it's all part of a healing for them.
Well, like I said, it does go towards his whole campaign of strength and unity and I'll be back sort of vibe. So
yeah, and also,
it works for him.
You hate to say it, but there's a guy hit by a bullet who's up literally 10 seconds later going fight, fight, fight. The other guy's gone home with a bit of a sniffle. He's got COVID. And again, we may hear news on Biden soon, because that show is coming off the road, isn't it? So a couple more clips from Trump's speech last night. This is the big news simply because it's his convention. And the first, he's talking about the North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un.
I got along very well. North Korea, Kim Jong-un, I got along very well with him. The press hated when I said that. How could you get along with him? Well, it's nice to get along with somebody who has a lot of nuclear weapons or otherwise, isn't it? See, in the old days, they'd say, that's a wonderful thing. Now they say, how could you possibly do that? But no, I got along with them, and we stopped the missile launches from North Korea. Now North Korea's acting up again, but when we get back, I get along with them. He'd like to see me back, too. I think he misses me, if you want to know the truth.
Oh, you don't like it, Bobby, I can tell.
The thing is, yeah, because we're laughing about it, and obviously a political assassination attempt is a serious issue.
Yeah.
But Trump being potentially re-elected as president of the most important country in the world is an even more serious issue. This is a man that's a convicted felon. Don't forget that he was convicted of, found guilty on 34 charges of falsifying business records. He is a known misogynist. He's made comments such as, and I won't use the exact word, but he'll grab women by their private parts. Have
you ever seen a man's group chat? I'm not condoning it, but
this is not just...
These are just
He
small
said it was
things.
locker room banter.
One thing in isolation, maybe, but there's a track record. His xenophobia, again, I think when he was president, he talked about immigration poisoning the blood of our country. Also, more importantly, I think he's a threat to democracy, because democracy only exists when people that lose an election say, I lost the election, fair enough, next person comes in. But he incited the far right, the Proud Boys in his country, to storm the Capitol. Was it on Jan the 6th, 2021? And that is unprecedented. It was he incited
But then
those people.
what about the things that actually matter? Money in people's pockets, bringing industry back, jobs for American people, American pride. What about those things where we saw so many families have far more money than they did before, where we saw unemployment at its lowest rate under Trump, where we saw no wars, where we saw potential war looming with Iran, and instead of that, he targeted Soleimani directly. Whether I agree with that or not, there could have been, if it was under Biden, if it was under Clinton, if it was under Tony Blair, we would have had thousands of people dying. With Trump, we haven't.
But I think this man is bigger than that because he is emboldening the far right across the world. When they see someone like Trump getting up and saying...
I'm not far right, and I like him.
I know, but across the world, we've got people in Hungary, in the UK, the Reform Party, even the extreme parts of it. I think Trump is like this lightning rod, like everyone's drawn towards him. And
Let's take some calls on this. So whether actually post-assassination you're just thinking, yeah, give it to Trump. He looks as if he's won it already, and maybe you're even warming to him. Mark in Manchester, you agree with Bobby or Lynn?
Good morning, everyone. Good morning, panel. I totally agree with Bobby. Bobby, you missed off rapist and paedophile. He's been named all over the Epstein document.
Let's be careful with the paedophile thing because I know that's Epstein and everything.
It's been trending on Twitter for 3 weeks.
It must be right then.
Oh, Mark, you're about, honestly, seriously, you didn't just say that, did you?
You've lost your credibility.
You lost it, Mark. You lost it. Try and start again and see if you can do better.
Start again. Well, we'll start again. Lynn mentioned about the state of the US economy. A quarter of the total US debt is down to Trump.
Isn't that COVID, though?
In 4 years. No, that was giving his rich mates tax cuts. He didn't make the working class better off. He made the rich better off.
He just spent a lot of money on that.
Sorry, Lynn.
Yeah.
Project 25. How do you feel with that?
But if that's the case, why are there so many working class individuals, ethnic minorities that are now coming out and feeling that Trump actually speaks for them? Vance, his vice president, is now saying, it's not about your skin colour, it's about the working man, it's about Americans first.
I saw a guy holding up a sign. Sorry, Mark. I saw a guy holding up a sign at one of the Trump rallies which said "Blacks for Trump." He was white.
But much of the American black community are now coming out in support of Trump. Yes.
Well, there we are, Mark.
You like Twitter, Mark? Go and check it out.
Yeah, there we are.
If it wasn't for migrants, Trump wouldn't have any wives or children.
If it wasn't for what?
Migrants.
Yeah.
Trump wouldn't have any wives or children.
So when you mention Project 25, you're talking here about what he calls the biggest deportation in American history. Is that right?
And the total ban on abortion and the cut of welfare benefits and everybody off Medicare and everything's getting slashed, but his rich mates will get richer.
OK, thank you very much. You've got the whole rap sheet there. Gary in Belfast, hi.
Good morning.
Would you, if you were American, would you vote for Trump?
Definitely not. I mean, definitely not. I can tell you before Boris Johnson and Donald Trump, this world was in a much better place. And between the two of them, they've wrecked it. And I'm sure I'm an Irishman in Belfast. I'm ruled by the British under my disgrace. I protest about that, but any decent British man does not want anything to do with China or North Korea or Putin in Russia. And he's friends of them all. Like Mr. Farage, we want nothing to do with him.
He's not friends with China, though, is he?
I'm sorry. He also goes on there. He acted like people ask me. He acted Mr. Innocent. I needed my sick bucket out to listen to the man.
Hasn't the assassination changed this, though, or the attempted?
Do you think? Well, was it one of them American accents where you clap your hands twice and get the wee tomato sauce busted in your hand? He was covered in blood. I didn't see him covered in blood. I seen 2 wee streaks of blood.
People don't think it happened.
I didn't see a red collar on his shirt. And I'm sorry,
what about the man that died?
The guy who died, Gary.
Let me finish, please. But he also used the word, these evangelists in America, Jesus saved me and God saved me. The man has never gone to church in his life, apart from going to one of his 3 ex-wives' funerals or one of his rich financial advisors' funerals. At least Joe Biden is a decent old man. It's time he...
All right, we've got the full...
He's decent. He's a decent man who goes to his church. He is a religious man. Trump has no religion in him.
Okay.
He's just a fascist. He's an absolute fascist.
All right, Gary, you've done this. So we had 2 callers there. You're on your own at the moment,
A lot
Lynn.
of hatred.
Well, let's see. A lot of, the emotions. After the break, we're taking more calls on this. I should say there's a story. I'll just show you this if I can. And this is part of the reason this is all getting a bit lively in the States is this story out today. Have a look at that. So that is the Washington Post, but they're all running it, saying Obama is now spreading the word that he thinks the game's up. And, I mean, he's putting it in quite a sort of sensitive way, but essentially saying that Joe Biden's wife needs to step in. Now, I'll show you a tweet from yesterday. If we just look at this image, you can see the president here in the middle, and he's talking to a woman. It's not his wife, it looks a bit like her. But just before we run it, let me explain. The tweet suggests he thinks that's his wife, okay? Because watch what happens. Run it now, and you'll see how quickly she comes over. And he said, oh, like that. Oh, sorry. I thought that was you. And we don't know what actually happened, but that's the construction that's been put on it. It's very sad, isn't it, Bobby, this situation with Biden? I mean, if he has dementia and he's the most visible, most powerful person in the world, somebody needs to help him.
Yeah, I feel as if whether you're Democrat, Republican, it's sad to see the leader of still the most important country in the world going through this appearing dementia right before our eyes. And all of us have had parents, grandparents that have had this sort of issue. It's a human condition. We have
but
it.
It's a private, he's suffering this in public.
I don't know why he's still there. And even
well, he can't make the decision. And people around him want to be, let's guess this, they want to be the president's son, that's Hunter. They want to be the president's wife, that's Jill. They want to be, by the way, have their jobs in the White House still, because once he goes, they go.
But even, do you know when after the attempted assassination attempt, Biden's words, trying to unify the country, he said, oh, this is unheard of. It's not unheard of. United States, a history of political assassination. Lincoln 1865, Garfield 1881, McKinley 1901, JFK 1963. So how can he say it's unheard of? So I feel like his mind's not functioning.
Yeah, okay, yeah, interesting. Maybe he doesn't remember back to those cases. Obviously, we don't know if he's got dementia. We're just guessing here. Elaine is in Blackpool. Are you thinking now it's Trump's time?
Good morning, Jeremy.
Morning.
No, but I do think that poor Biden, I mean, he obviously has dementia. I mean, I'd be very surprised if he didn't. And he needs help. He needs a lot of help.
Yeah, he needs to be at home. Yeah, I mean, even in the debate where he suddenly says, he gets all into a pickle, and then he just says, we beat Medicare, and Trump says, you did beat it, you beat it to death. And you saw the two such different people, aren't they?
Absolutely. But I just, and I'm not for Trump, but I just would like to say, having lived in America, is it Bobby at the end said,
yes,
oh,
Bobby Seagull.
Misogynistic and this is terrible the way he treats women, this hasn't happened before. I mean, he forgets that there was Kennedy's. They all were not great with women. Neither was Clinton. I just want to say he is no different to many other presidents.
Well, it's a good point. So, okay, Trump verbalized it, and that was a horrible thing, Bobby. But you're right. Clinton was having it off all over the place, apparently.
So what I would say, Elaine, thank you for your call, is that if you take one event, one sort of factor, whether it's misogyny or xenophobia in isolation, you can say, that's his one, fault. But actually, he's got a litany. And I would say, actually, the biggest thing is that he's a real peril to world democracy. Because again, I'm not going to underestimate the importance of this. When he lost the election in 2021, he's incited the Proud Boys to come storm the Capitol. That's unprecedented. And then after they were convicted of their crimes, in fact, some police officers lost their lives, he then has been asking for these people to be pardoned and released from their prison sentences. So I think he's a genuine person that's undermining the role.
He came out and said that shouldn't have happened in the way that it did.
But
and
he was
peaceful. Well, wouldn't you say that he was more calling for peaceful protest almost, and then they took matters into
Didn't he cause it though? I don't know. But then there's that. Okay, there's all that insurrection issue, and that's about in a way tempestuous events at home in the USA. But of course, he says he can pour oil on troubled waters internationally. Have a look at this clip.
I will end every single international crisis that the current administration has created, including the horrible war with Russia and Ukraine, which would have never happened if I was president, and the war caused by the attack on Israel, which would have never happened if I was president.
There we are, Bobby. He's promising world peace.
There was no wars when he was around.
That's just circumstances. I think it's easy to say that, but how much?
He might genuinely scare uppity other foreign leaders, because it is like having, let's say they think this. We don't know if this dog is trained. It's that sort of idea,
The
isn't
thing
it?
is, even so, the vice presidential nominee, J.D. Vance, 39-year-old, potentially the most powerful millennial come a few months, he even said before he was a never Trumper.
People change.
But he said that.
He said
but
like
he also
Hitler.
said very recently about Britain, he said the first Islamist country with nuclear weapons.
That was
that could be
wrong.
Britain under Labour power.
Yeah,
So I'm a bit worried about.
He did say that.
I don't agree with
I still can't work out if he was joking when he said we're the first Islamic country with nuclear weapons. David in the Scottish Highlands, are you thinking if you were in America, you'd vote for Trump?
100% I would. Just going back to the comment on the Capitol, when the rioters, Trump had requested extra security, which Nancy Pelosi and the Democrats did not approve, and he did not incite the violence. He said he was not wanting them to go there and do that, and the police were seen to be letting people in. So that's the first.
He incited the violence by saying that the election result was stolen. That's what he did.
You can't say that. You can't say that.
But then once you say that, you think, what are they all doing in there?
He didn't say go and trash the Capitol, but anyway.
But can I ask David a question?
Trump, when he was in power,
Go on, yeah, but David, Bobby's got a question for you.
Also, what Jeremy was saying, if someone's lost an election and they go up on the podium and they say this election has been stolen, what reaction would you expect from people that support
Not
him?
people to trash.
But stolen, if something's stolen from me, I would try and get it back.
What? But would you?
David, isn't that the issue? David saying the election was stolen.
I really don't agree with that, Bobby. And also, there was evidence of dead people voting for Biden. Illegal immigrants.
The election was stolen. Okay. All right, David. Thank you. Chris in Liverpool. Hi.
Hiya.
Would you vote for Trump if you were American?
Not if he was the only one running.
So even if he's the last man in the country, you wouldn't vote for him?
Exactly, yeah.
But all right. So are you hoping Biden stays or goes? I mean, do you want someone to replace Biden?
The problem is this election is no longer about Biden, the Democrats,
You're
Trump,
so right.
or MAGA. This is now about democracy versus authoritarianism. If Trump gets in, he'll make himself a king, and it'll be another Russia. He will be. He'll turn him. He's already said, look into Project 2025. He's already said he will round up everybody who disagrees with him and put them into camp.
Lynn, do you think he'll put people into camps?
I've not read that. I'm very interested to actually read that. So he said word for word, if any American citizen disagrees with him, he'll put them in a camp. Where did you read that?
Did he say that, Chris?
Yes. Now, don't quote me on the exact wording of it.
It's important. It's important.
Well, was it camp or was it?
He has said, even in the campaign, they've got signs saying round them up.
Yeah.
Round up
deportation, yeah.
Well, I think, I'm not going to say whether this is immediately right or wrong. However, you can see that many Western countries, people feel similar to rounding up illegal migrants.
Okay, we'll leave it there just because we're running out of time. There's so much to talk about.